Hi students, this is Dr. Newmark here. In this video, I'm going to give you some tips on how to succeed in your discussion board responses and peer reviews. I will give an overview of my expectations in this video. First of all, here are some top tips for performing well in the discussion board. So first of all, I want to note something that might seem fairly obvious. Please read the discussion board prompt carefully. Sometimes I write extensively in these prompts, so you should read every word I've written so that you can follow all of the details as best as possible. So if there are formatting expectations established, please follow them. If I ask you to write in multiple paragraphs or use section headings, be sure to do those things. If there are word count parameters, follow them. So I always do offer word count parameters. I'll say 300 words in your original post or 100 words in a response. Be sure you're using those as a guideline. Next, be sure you are practicing your best technical communication skills even in the discussion board. So many students think of the discussion board as a casual environment, but you need to be sure that you're using it as yet another context in which to show your exceptional developing professional communication skills. So yes, this is a space where we interact as a classroom community, but it is also a place where we want to practice our best communication skills and put our best foot forward. So as they say, practice makes permanent, right? So you need to practice excellent communication skills and outputs in the discussion board. So be sure, in this vein, to check for complete sentences, grammatical correctness, and proper punctuation. Don't use abbreviations or the kinds of shorthand that you might use in texting. If you use voice dictation to compose your responses, be sure you go back through and read it and check it for correctness in all of these areas. In this vein as well, be sure that you are avoiding too casual language. Next, when you're providing feedback to your peers or responding on their work, always be constructive and not just complimentary or giving pats on the back, as I call it. So always aim to offer specific, actionable guidance to your classmates when you are offering peer review feedback. Aim to offer multiple items for them to work on. So you're going to give specific advice. If you need to quote from their work, do so. That's an excellent tactic to show that you've read it carefully. Each peer review prompt for your major assignments will have a series of areas I want you to specifically pay attention to, as I outline in the prompt. Structure your response so it is clear that you're touching on all of these areas. That would mean using those items as specific headings, as I'll show in this video. In reading response and user interface challenge responses, make it clear through examples or references you use to your peers that you have read and viewed and really thought about their work. Now, I've mentioned here reading responses and UI challenges. Those are assignments for my English 319 class. If you are watching this video and you are a member of another class, you will have other specific assignments in the discussion board. But for all of them, you need to make it clear through your examples, as I've said, or the references you use, that you've carefully thought about everything that your peers have written and that you've been a good reader and a thoughtful commentator. Now, here's an example of a prompt from a prior class of mine. This is for a peer review of a major assignment for the class. So you'll see that I give a little bit of an overview here, that the memos that they turned in need to be in PDF, and that they have to write a certain amount of words to each peer they're responding to. Then I give 5 criteria that the peer reviewer needs to make sure that they satisfy in their response. In this case, they were required to comment on the document's design, the clarity of their peers' explanations, the involvement of secondary research, grammatical issues, and the overall efficacy of the peer satisfaction of the purpose of the assignment. Then here at the bottom, I outline the point allocations for the student's original post and for their responses to peers. Now in your class, each of your prompts for peer review will differ from this one because this is from a different class, but you'll want to read it very carefully. And if I say you should speak to 5 different topics, it would be a good idea to use 5 different sections in your response. Now this is a discussion board assignment prompt. This was for students in a class who are watching a video, and then they had to refer to the video, refer to some online research that they'd done, and refer to some competencies from the Society of Technical Communication that they'd read about. So I provide all of that information in the first paragraph here, and then I tell them how much they need to write. But I also give them some modality choices They didn't have to necessarily write a memo, but they could have created a graphic, an audio file, or a video. I gave them those options as well. So you'll want to read what I say so you're sure that you're responding in the appropriate form. Now, the next two slides I'm showing are pretty hard to read, but they do show the way that some students, even though you can't read everything they've written, the way that they have organized their responses to their classmates. So this student, this is the original post written in the discussion board rather than attached as a separate memo. Sometimes I'll stipulate whether I want you to attach a memo or just write a post in the discussion board. But in almost all cases, I do not want a wall of text, a single big paragraph. In technical communication, that is almost never what you want to do. So in this case, the student creates a memo with a header, has an opening section, and has 3 subsections denoted with bolded heading font, and then a concluding section. Then 2 peers respond. They respond in a rather thin way, not a very developed way, but again, even these students who didn't write a very robust response didn't write in a single dense block paragraph of text. This next example shows 2 students who are responding to a peer's draft. And so you can see that they have written their responses to an assignment that was an infographic in 4 different categories here. This is a numerical list. Again, this one isn't terribly well developed, but this example down here is very well developed. This student takes my questions as the headers for specific paragraphs and then adds commentary beneath all of them. So that helps this student track through what I'm asking for peer review and make sure that that student is giving the classmate responses and insights in those specific areas. So as you'll notice, again, none of these were big walls of text, and they all used text emphasis or headings or other formatting techniques to draw emphasis to the specific information they were sharing. So my concluding thoughts are these. So there are many ways to demonstrate strong attention to detail and investment in our classroom community in the discussion board. So armed with the guidelines for success in this video, you should be ready to earn as many points as possible in your various discussion board entries and responses. You can always reach out to me. I'm sorry for the one small typo in this video. I wonder if you caught it. You can email me with any questions you might have, and I hope you're all set up to succeed and write thoughtful and thorough responses in your original posts and your responses to peers in our discussion board activities this semester.